Welcome to the Bearded Bro Show podcast. I am Dustin, one of your hosts, and I'm joined by
Trav as always, and I can tell with what Dustin's going to talk about today. I just burped, #burp time. You guys, I meant to say, the way he said that was definitely like a little bit more chill, I guess. Hence the story I was going to tell. And I got a story after that, that I'll just let you know. Like, whenever I'll start talking about it when it's time to talk about it. Won't give any hints or anything yet. But yeah, it's good to be back, guys.
It is very good to be back. Before we get into kind of what Trav and I have experienced this week, mine literally just happened today. Completely, I can't say it was unexpected. I kind of had a feeling when I went there today that something was off. But we'll get into that. But Trav and I have a couple things that we're going to be talking about, hopefully in next week's episode. There's a couple things that we were going to watch on Netflix together, but, watch separately and then talk about in the podcast. I watched both things, and I think Trav needs
I've watched
to
zero, but I'm working on
Yeah.
it.
Yes. One of them is a movie, and the other one is a documentary. The documentary, by the way, I watched, the other night. Was it last night? Yeah, last night. Super good. Definitely not like what I thought it was going to be like, but I mean that in a good way because it's a very gruesome thing that Trav is going to watch. So that's next week's episode. We will talk about that. But it was so funny because Trav and I were talking about what to talk about this episode, and we wanted to do what we were going to do next week about the movie, and then Trav got caught up, being busy, and so we're just going to have to push that off, which is fine. So it's funny because I messaged Trav and I was like, we'll just kind of spitball this episode a little bit and just kind of see where it goes, because usually Trav and I can just get into discussions about anything and everything and just have good conversation. And I was like, maybe something will happen and I'll have a story. And boy, do I have two stories. One more sad than the other. I guess they're both pretty sad, but one more sad than the other. I was at work yesterday. Trista was at home doing a 12-hour live stream for her Twitch channel because she hit a goal and did really well. Also, I have hot pink hair. That's a story for another time.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. It had to deal with my Twitch channel. But I was at work and I get a call from Trista. And Trista knows, I can't answer my phone at work. And I have an Apple Watch. So anytime she would call me, I was getting it through there. And I was like, first time I go, maybe she just butt dialed. Maybe she has a question about her stream, whatever. She'll just text it to me. Well, she kept calling me. She called me 4 times. And that's when I knew something was wrong. And I excused myself from the sales floor and went to the bathroom just to find out that our kitten that we had just recently got a couple months ago had passed away. So I had to come home and bury a kitten and explain to a 4 and a 7-year-old what happened. So that was not a very fun experience. It was a little rough. It's never easy. We didn't have her very long, but still, it was sad. So what happened is we have a German Shepherd who is full grown, and she likes to play. And she got a little too rough with the cat, and she didn't maul the cat or anything like that. There was no blood. There was nothing bad. It wasn't gruesome or anything. But I think what happened is the dog pounced to play because she plays with our other cats all the time. And the dog and the kitten got along great, by the way. There was never, they would lay together, perfectly fine. It's not like we have a vicious dog. We don't. She just doesn't realize her size. And I think she kind of hit the cat the wrong way and the kitten didn't make it. So that was really sad. And then I get up today at 8 a.m., get ready for work. I go in, and I could just tell when I walked in that something was different. Something didn't feel right. And I kind of knew, that something was going to happen. The people that were there before me management wise, knew something that I didn't. You know, it was very obvious. Like, I could read the room and could tell that there was an issue there. Which, by the way, I just want to say the stuff that they said I did is completely wrong. And I really think that place was just kind of trying to push me out. And they basically gave me two options of, like, go now or wait and be canned later. Like, there was no in between. So I said what I had to say and discussed my issues with him, and away I went. So I am currently looking for a new place to work. But at the same time, there's kind of a silver lining to all of this, and it's something that I want to address to you guys. I have nothing bad to say about the company I worked for. I have nothing bad to say about the people I worked with. It was a good job. The people I worked with were great, not in the management side of things. And, it's just like the higher ups there, it was not a very pleasant place to be all the time. There was kind of a lot of instances where it was almost like, the thought and the care for the employees just went out the window. And, again, I can't speak poorly about the company. But in reality, I'm going to be 28 on the 27th of this month. And it's a good job, but, I think it was just time that I found something different. It kind of got to the point where I was stressing out. I was dealing with a lot of stuff there. I would come home mad. I'd come home upset. I'd have a bad day at work, and I'd come home and I couldn't get out of a funk sometimes. And days I woke up and I just dreaded just going there because I knew what was in store. And it just kind of got to a point that it affected my health mentally. And, my grandma made a good point today, and she was like, listen, there is no job in the entire world. There is no amount of money that is worth your health, because if you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Right.
And it's just better that I just find something different career choice, but for like a college kid that, is young, freshman, sophomore, whatever, in college, it's a great job. It's easy. It pays a decent amount of money, but I kind of just hit this plateau of point there where there was no room for expansion, and it would have just been stuck. And because they paid us during the time when COVID hit and like the country shut down, they didn't give anybody raises, and I was busting my ass, and it was just like, I was training new people. I was busting my ass. I was giving it my all, and it just felt like there was no recognition. There was never a thank you. You did great. There was never like nothing like that. Like I felt so like unvalued and unappreciated, and being around certain people there, I could just kind of tell it's like, like you're here and we're just kind of tolerating you. And, unfortunately, like, things happen, and I come home, and it was funny, like, I talked to Trista about it, and she's like, I would have been, she's like, how are you not mad? And I was like, but can I, like, really be mad? Like, I'm numb to it, like, it sucks, but at the same time...
It's kind of like a thing where you don't know what emotion to pick of how you feel, like, mainly. It's like a mixture of everything.
Yeah, and that was just it. Like, when I walked out of there today, I kind of, like, there was anger, you know what I mean? Because
but almost bittersweet, probably, where you're like, well, new opportunities on my horizon.
Yeah, that was exactly it. Like, I used the phrase earlier, onwards and upwards. And, it's like I walked out of there and I got in my car and, like, I laughed. And I was just like, like this is fucking ridiculous, man. Like, what? And I wasn't so much worried about...
what just happened?
It wasn't even so much I was worried about what had just happened. It was like more so like, how's Trista going to react? How's my parents going to react? How's my dad going to take it?
That's the bad part.
That's just
gotta
it.
go tell your woman.
And the thing is like, Trista didn't want me there any longer anyway. and everybody, like including my dad, like my dad is a hardworking guy, and I wouldn't have my car if it wasn't for him. So like that was my thing, was like, shit, like I gotta tell him, like, hey, like dude, like I might need help at some point, because I don't know how long it's gonna take me to find a job. But that's kind of weird right now to find a job through all of this. So I was more so worried about like how I was going to make everything work. But I do have a supporting, loving fiance and a family, and like once I kind of got that news out to everybody, and everybody was like kind of like really positive about it, I was like, okay, you know what, like everything's gonna be okay. And then the anger like really kind of kicked in later. Well, like a coworker, one of the newer kids work there, super great kid, super great kid. We got along great. Like he like supports the YouTube channel. He supports like my Twitch. Like he's a great kid. And he's like messaged me. He's like, dude, like why'd you quit? And I was like, I didn't quit. And he was like, well, they're saying you quit. And I was like, no. I was like, listen, dude, there's so much shit going on behind the scenes at this place that you just don't see yet. I was like, but give it time and let people's true colors show. Because eventually, and like I was honest, I was like, look, man, like eventually it's kind of going to get to a point where like you're going to just plateau, and you're going to quickly realize that like once there's no need for you, like that's it. Like once you like hit your max potential there, that's it. They don't care. It doesn't matter how hard you work. You're just never going to please that specific manager who happens to be the store manager, and it is what it is. I literally have no bad blood between anybody there. It is what it is. It's just, honestly, it's better for me to just get out of that situation, because it was going to get to a point like where I was kind of getting to that point where like if anything would have pissed me off, that I would have just 0 to 100, like that's it, I'm gonna just say things that I don't mean. And I explained that like after I had left, about 45 minutes later, I got a call from the people there, the one manager who I had spoken to earlier that day, and they were like, look, like it didn't have to happen like this. And I'm like, it's just like, you literally shit on me 45 minutes ago, like don't even try now to make this okay, like. But the nice thing about that call is I was really able to like say what I wanted to say without being a dickhead, and without being
ignorant. You didn't work there anymore. You're like, you know what? I'm just gonna say some stuff.
I know. I was honest. I was like, look, I've literally felt unvalued, and I felt like I wasn't wanted around, and that like like I was just there to just be a body, like that. I felt so unappreciated. So it's just like, it is what it is, and that was the truth. And we wished each other well, and they're like, hey, like if anything changes, you can always reapply in the near future. You were a great employee. And I'm like, where was this 45 minutes ago?
Yeah, exactly. You were great. I think they're feeling it. I think they realize what they were complaining about and stuff was a mistake. And I've already told Dustin about how I feel about the particular company that he worked for anyway, on their attendance policy and all that. Like, why don't you have one? It's kind of ridiculous. Like, it just, some things he's explained to me, I'm just like, that makes no sense. And I'm not trying to, and it's not me trying to compare to the attendance policy that I have at where I work, but it definitely, there's a lot of red flags with all that. Just like any sort of calling in and all this, you're just like, it's like you have to freaking explain yourself. And it's like, that's ridiculous, man.
Literally.
Especially during COVID back in the day, too. They had no right to be all, like, upset about the Trista's car thing and all that happened. Like, that's... Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know if I ever talked about it on the podcast, but I'll kind of give it a little bit more time here. Maybe to the halfway mark, and then Trav can tell his story of the last half. I don't know. We'll see. But we can kind of discuss this. I had COVID, and that whole process was just a big issue. I was like, hey, look, like I feel like something's wrong, and I have this manager who's my store leader. the person that is supposed to help you and coach you and guide you through these steps. It was nothing like that. It was like, oh no, well, like, you like had a seizure or whatever, like last or yesterday, which was this happened on a Saturday. I'll never forget it. When I had like a seizure at work, I left. I come back, or no, it was like Sunday. I was off that day, so I like rested and relaxed. It was like Sunday night going into Monday. I noticed like symptoms of COVID, and they're like, "Oh no, it's because of what happened to you." And I'm like, "I really think there's something wrong." And they're like, "Well, you need to go get tested like now." And then I had to schedule the test for a certain day, and they didn't like that. But then again, it was the only place I could go get tested, and the soonest I could get tested. And I got shit because, oh well, it took you 14 days to get your test results back. That's out of my fucking control.
Yeah, just generally not working with you at all on anything. Like,
no,
not even trying to adjust any of their time. It's all about them. They're being selfish. And, like, you're affecting our work. It's not about this employee that's been with us for however long you were, a pretty decent long time. So,
over 3 years.
Selfishness,
Just over
man.
3 years. Just over 3 years I was there. And the thing is like when I got the test results back and like had literally picture proof from the lab, which I still have, by the way, I can pull up on my phone anytime. The immediate response when they found out was like, oh my God, like, well, what do you want to do next? Like, do you need to like take more time to heal? Do you want to be like 100% better? When you come back, is there anything like you want to change? Do you want to like not work with customers as much? No, none of that. The immediate response I got was, okay, cool, when can you come back? And I was dumbfounded. I'm like, really? Because like I literally just had this and you're just gonna, that's it? Like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, when can you come back? I believe it was when I came back the whole thing happened with Trista's car. I'm trying to get my timeline right. I think so. Trista's car, like, basically was like about to blow up, and she had to get it home. Well, I had said something to the one manager, and he's like, yeah, let me go talk to the manager on duty. And I'm saying this, because I'm not going to mention names of people there. He's like, yeah, let me go ask so and so. And he come back and he was like, well, yeah, you can just go. And I was like, but I don't have to yet. Like, not until she goes on lunch, And it was like, he's like, no, go ahead and go. She said it was okay. I'm like, okay. So I went back and clocked out, and this manager pulled me in the office and like gave me so much crap about it. And they're like, oh, well, you this and this happened. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, yeah, this is a fucking emergency. Like, I don't want her to be driving home and something happened, And it was a whole big thing. They, like, tried to write me up for it, and I was like, I'm not signing your fucking paper, and it was a whole thing. And I was just dumbfounded. It just kind of got to a point that, like, it got bad,
It just got bad.
It did. I mean, it was never necessarily good. But
it wasn't good either. It was just bad.
Yeah, I mean, it just I remember starting there and everything, it was great, and then just like all of a sudden things just went downhill. And the thing is, like, this isn't just me that this has happened to recently. Like, so many people have left because of the shit that goes on there that people don't see. Like, they have literally lost people that have been there for 5-6 years that just said, you know what, fuck this place, I can't do it anymore. I can't. And people left. And it's just, it's sad because it's just like, I know they don't care.
Right.
And that's it. It's not like, I feel for the people that are still employed there. Before all that stuff happened to me, I was talking to a coworker, and he's been there for 5 or 6 years, and he's like, dude, I'm so sick of the way things are here. And he was just like, I literally can do everything. He literally can do stuff management can do. And it's just like, they just fucking use him. And, he's like, there's just times, dude, where I just want to, like, leave and never look back. Like,
Yeah.
it's a damn shame. It really is. It's so bad that, like, even one of the, like, he's been there for 25 years. And he went on you got a sabbatical. So on his 25 years, he got, like, a sabbatical where he could leave for 6 weeks or something like that, or 8 weeks. I don't even remember. Maybe even longer. It was, like, 2 months or something. But he literally told me, he's like, there's a good chance I may decide not even to come back and just retire. What does that go to show you about that place?
He's like, I'm out. Peace.
Like, that's literally it.
The proof is all there. And the fact that everyone else is experiencing similar things says it's not just like Dustin's perspective on people being jerks and stuff. It seems like it's a legit management and just issue. And like you said, you like the company that you worked for. Like, it's, and I know nothing about it. Like, I don't, but it seems like it should be a good company because it's a pretty big one and a big name. So it's one of those things. But sometimes it's just the place, man. Sometimes it's just the location that sucks sometimes for certain people. And
a lot of people too that I talk to are like, oh, well, COVID just has everything fucked up. And I'm like, this has been going on a year prior to COVID even being a thing. Like, I've been dealing with this shit for close to 2 years. And it just came to a point that, like, it's not worth it. It's not worth being stressed out over. Like, I'm going to work, I'm busting my ass, and still hardly being able to pay bills. You know what I mean? Like what the hell is the point? Why even work? You know what I mean? Like, why not just find something different? And I mean, I try to find the silver lining and everything, and maybe this is just, like, a sign of things to come, and just be like, you know what, like, yeah, this sucks, but really, it's only going to get better from here. So
it'll be one of those things where in the podcast somewhere you'll be like, when I used to work for this and this place, and then, like, you've moved on, you've got something better, and it's just going to be one of those, like, stepping stones in your life that's just something of a memory now and something to look back on. Kind of like how I feel about my last job, is I've made a lot of friends there. It was a great place to kind of get on my feet and stuff like that, but it's just not something that I was going to go crazy. If I was still there, I would be probably, like, completely white-haired, just completely, like, just an old man, even faster. It's just one of those things. Like, I knew when I worked there, like, this place is okay, and the driving, because I had already moved to a new city, and the fact that I stayed as long as I did was me being stupid. You get stuck in these just patterns, and I know Dustin knows what I'm talking about, where you just deal with stuff. You just go to the same place, and you don't really think about, like, it crosses your mind and you get tired of it, yes, but there are steps to be had to, like, make that change, and sometimes you just go a long time without doing those changes whenever it should have probably been done a long time ago for your, like you said, mental health and just sanity. And for me, it was mainly just like a freaking 30-minute drive. I got tired of it. It was like Monday, it was a legit, like, 4 a.m. to, I mean, not 4 a.m., 4 p.m. to, like, 1 or 2 a.m., and depending on when we got done and stuff, and literally Monday through Friday. And at that point, like, literally, they started making us come in Saturdays, and I found out from friends months and months later that they are still, well, actually, I've almost been where, and I almost said it too, I've almost been where I'm at for almost 2 years. So the fact that they have been having to go in on Saturdays pretty much since I've left, like, I left at the perfect time, like, because I was already starting to go crazy. I was literally only getting Sundays off. Now, I know there are people out there that'll say, like, I work 7 days a week, yeah, whatever. It's like, just whatever works for you works for you. It's not for me. I gotta have a day off here and there, and I would prefer two. I would prefer a weekend. I don't care where it is in my week. Like, I have Tuesdays and Wednesdays off. That's the most weird weekend ever to other people's perspective, but it works for me. And, I like it because it's 2 days in a row. One day to rest and do whatever I want to do, and on another day, and more chances for, like, Ashley to be off, and, like, more, and I know Dustin thinks of this as, like, important too, like, you want to spend time with Trista. You just do. And so having a couple days off here and there, and maybe she works one and the next one she doesn't, it just works better. If you only have one day off a week, it's just so, like, you're there and you feel like you live at work. It drove me crazy after a while. That's why I was just like, all right. And, like, I called the place I work now, and I'm like, I want out of where I'm at. Is there any freaking way that you guys can hire me? I'll do whatever. And she basically hooked me up. She was like, redo your application, because there was, like, some stuff I didn't do right, apparently, or something. And she was like, you know what, go back and you can go in with and edit your application because it's online. And she's like, fix this, this, and this, and I'll get you in for an interview. And so that was cool. So that's how that happened. But just when you're not happy, and, like, this is advice to anybody, like, if you're in that kind of pattern, like, you are literally not stuck. Like, and I tell Ashley this all the time because she's a nurse, and there's a lot that goes into it, and maybe one day I can talk more about, maybe dedicate a whole episode about that. I don't know. We'll see. But she's a nurse, and it's bad. Like, it's bad on her mental health. It's bad on everything. And I keep telling her, like, you have a degree in this, and you can do anything with it. Like, don't feel stuck. That's just what I keep trying to tell her, is, like, I'm not there. I don't know it. I don't see it. I'm not experiencing it with you. I'm experiencing it, what you bring home, and your emotions, and your stories, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to relate because I don't work there. I mean, it's just a fact. Like, it's not being mean. I just see her pain, so I'm trying to, like, say stuff to her, like, you're not stuck, like, and I know it feels that way, and you're just gonna have to push through it as much as you can until you decide what else you want to do, because that's just that it is what it is. Like, you work where you work, but there's always changes to be made.
That's right. I guess really, before Trav gets into his story, the moral of the story and what I'm trying to get to with this, and Trav will agree, is, it's okay. Like, if it's getting to a point where, things are bad at your job or you're in a certain situation, it's okay to just say, you know what, like, I need a change, and take whatever you need to do. Like, yeah, it's not going to be easy. Is what I'm going through going to be easy? Absolutely not. But it's okay to have that mental reset, because, again, like, your mental health, it matters. Because if you're in a bad situation and you can't get yourself out of that situation, like how I mentioned earlier, that, like, if I was thinking or saying what I was thinking earlier today, or if I would have stayed any longer and continued to just be stuck in that loop that Trav talked about of just dealing with bullshit. And the thing about being in that loop too is, like, you get up and you go and what you're going to deal with today, and it happens. And it's, even though you're prepared for it, like, it still sucks. But you can take time for yourself, because your health is the most important thing. And if I would have been there any longer and kept dealing with what I was dealing with, I would have said and or did something that I would have been fired on the spot, and it would have looked very bad. So I'm kind of glad that things happen the way that they did. As unfortunate as it is, it's better that it happened this way than the bad way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Trav had a pretty interesting night a few nights ago.
Yeah. All right. So, and I'm wondering, let me just ask you guys this. if you're watching this or listening, I'll just call it listening. If you're listening to this on YouTube or on Spotify right now, go to YouTube and let me know if you guys have ever experienced anything like this. I'm sure people have crazier stories, and maybe something like this has lasted more than just a night, because I'm thankful that it didn't. I was so in the moment when I was texting other friends and stuff. Look at what I'm dealing with. And I texted Dustin pretty much right away, and I'm like, dude, this is like, it is pitch black out here. So have any of you guys ever experienced, and I want to know Dustin's, like, if you know, a really severe blackout. Like, I mean, like, I don't just mean your power went out. Now, and if you guys have ever had like a bad, just like, it's just your house, like, those stories are fun too. Like, it doesn't have to be like this grand, like, oh, a whole entire street, like, no limits. Just let me know if you guys have experienced, and like in detail if you want. But this was my first like actual, like, the street I live on is completely no electricity. And it happened to be, of course, when I get home from work, you know, like, it was 10 p.m., I get home, I didn't even shower yet. Actually, it's interesting how all that went down, because, like, I think I forgot what we even did. I think we got Taco Bell or something. It was some night that Ashley was like, I don't feel like cooking, what do you want to get? And so we got, like, food somewhere. Brought it home, was watching a show, and literally in the middle of this show, the TV and everything just, like, you guys know what it's like. It's like almost like a jump scare. You don't expect just everything to go out. Like, it just, and then it's just like, but it was the weirdest, like, where the TV is, to our right is we have this gigantic living room window. And we really we wish that we had the shades open. And it sounds so bad to say, because it's like, oh, people getting hurt, like, you wish you could see it. But sometimes you just can say that. Like, you could just say, like, I wish I would have seen that wreck, or something like that. Like, you just automatically want to see things that are hidden from your sight. So, the shades are closed like normal. We always have the shades, like, a little bit up on the bottom for the cats. But, like, there's a love seat there in the way, so we can't see where they can see. So, right when it goes black, we see and hear through the shades, like, a light flickering, like, dead in the very center, kind of small on the shades. And it's like a legit, like, like, literally straight out of the movies sound effect. And that was so weird, because, like I said, I grew up as a kid and had thunderstorms and always hated them, because, like, I even talked about this in the podcast a little while back with Dustin, where, like, you know, when the power goes, it's so funny that I mentioned that too. I mentioned that in I think it was the last podcast, where I said power goes out, and oh yeah, we were talking about Social Dilemma, and I was like, when the power goes out, back in the day when we were kids, we were bored because we didn't have the phones that we have now. And then lo and behold, a few days later, that actually happens to me in real life. But it was my first legit blackout. Power went out. We hear people outside immediately. So this was like, so they knew about something even sooner. It almost makes me think if my building, maybe it went out after some other people. I don't know. It's throwing me off, because I'm like, surely it would all happen at the same time, but I don't know. But when I tell you guys, a blackout straight out of the movies, where, like, there's a freaking whatever those bombs are called that go off and lock out electricity.
EMP.
Yeah, I was thinking it was EMP, but it is exactly like that. Like, whenever the lights go out like that, and I mean, we have an apartment, so there are street lights outside in the parking lot to light up everything. And I even heard a guy, when I got outside, talk about that. He was like, yeah, you know, you never really think about the street lights that light up your cars. And I mean, like, step out, we live upstairs, the stairway is completely black. Like, I mean, like, you can't see your hand in front of your face type thing. And so, like, we hear people, like, as soon as it happens, it took us a second, and then Ashley literally, like, nudged me, like, wait, babe, see what's going on. Like, she literally, all of a sudden, just, like, lit up on, like, something more is going on than just the power went out. And I was thinking, like, it's not even storming. Like, my first thought was something like that. Like, it's not storming. What's going on? We didn't even know what that light through the shades was. So we run outside, go downstairs, and there's literally like it's straight out of a movie, dude. When something big happens and people crowd around, like literally, most of our neighbors literally run outside and kind of like it's hard to explain, but in the distance, like where I showed Dustin this footage, like there was just like a fire kind of glow, but I still to this day don't even know if that was really a fire, because I know there was like someone's lights were flashing and it might have been the person that wrecked, but basically somebody swerved and hit a pole. And what, Dustin, what did you call it the other day? Because I know that's what it was.
A transformer.
Okay, yeah, so it was definitely
Literally,
as soon as you said that, I thought to say to myself, Autobots roll out.
Well,
I don't know why.
It's funny because as soon as Trav told me, and I knew from an experience, which I'll talk about, I was like, Trav, that was definitely a transformer. And I know electrical stuff. And I was like, somebody probably
you
hit
would
it.
know more than me about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, so, like, it was just so bizarre. Like, it was just the experience of it, and it was very, like I said, it felt straight out of a movie, because there was even a moment where, like, I run out, and shout out to, he's never going to listen to this, but shout out to Corey, I work with him, and he's also my neighbor. So, I run out there, and literally right where I happen to stop, like, kind of behind other people, he's beside me, and I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that yet, and I kind of saw in the corner of my eye someone looking at me, and then I heard him talk, then I look over, it's like, oh, it's you. Then that's another moment that's straight out of a movie where the character happened to run up to, like, somebody he knows by accident. And he was like, did you, like, hear that, or, like, whatever? It was like, yeah, like, and everyone was just kind of explaining what happened, but some lady told other people, like, yeah, I was outside, and she said something like, I was on my way home here and I saw someone swerving and stuff. I don't know how any of that timeline, like, I don't know, because she got home and then the wreck, so I don't know, maybe somebody really was all over the road and kept coming back or something, but this was a Saturday night, so Ashley did make a point, like, everyone's out drinking, like, I don't know, like, and to this day, as far as I know and what I heard that this person was okay, but I still am, like, so curious on, like, you know, who, because all I could think about when it happened, when I saw the fire over this, because we have this, it's called the Sunshine Academy, like, there's this building that's, like, for, just like, I don't know what that is. It's some kind of thing. Like, basically, I almost kind of call it like Boys and Girls Club or something like that.
Right.
The glow, like, literally, if that building wasn't in the way, we could see it. Like, that road is like a curve. So whoever it was that wrecked had to have, like, swerved. I don't know, because coming to my apartment, it's just like this curve, and then you turn right to go into my apartment. So I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain the map of it and which direction is what, but like, coming right out of my apartment and looking straight ahead, like, that's where it is, and that's where this, like, orange glow was. So I think there was a fire. It definitely looked like it in the footage, but because soon after it was out, you know, and heard sirens and everything, and it's just very bizarre. Like, I haven't been through hardly anything like that, and it's one of those things where, like, we thought, I mean, I don't know, trying to think of, like, when stuff happens, you try to think back to what your thoughts were at the time, and one of my thoughts definitely was, like, wow, that ruins my night, like, because we were gonna, like, play a game and stuff like that and continue one of the games we've been playing together and stuff, and what made it worse is I had to work the next day. So I was just literally like, is this going to be like a sleepless night? Because me and her sleep with two fans. I mean, since it's been summer, like, we each have a box fan on us. So it just, like, that was all the thoughts, was like, going to bed is going to be like the worst thing ever. Because it's going to be too hot. But I told Corey the next day at work, I'm like, dude, let's just be thankful that was not in the middle of summer. Like, it would have been bad, like, really, really bad. I'm trying to just think of other details because I remember like having so much in my brain when it happened.
And you know, the funny thing is too, is of all the pools those assholes could have swerved into, they had to hit.
I know,
that
exactly. Exactly. The one that knocked out like our entire like, and I mean like me and Ashley went out later on because we're night owls anyway and we stay up. So we went out later on. I forgot what I think we went to like get some fries from McDonald's or something because we both had pretty low-ish batteries on our phone, so that was like a whole thing where we had to figure that one out. We were like, okay, we're gonna need alarms for work in the morning because I rely on my phone for my alarm, dude. Like I know some other people that keep up backup clock alarms. I've been done with those for like years, and so maybe I should invest in one now. But we basically ended up sitting in her car in the parking lot charging our phones for like a while because there's like nothing else to do. Going to bed that early would have been like, I can't sleep because like it would have just been too hot and everything. So we were kind of trying to push it to our normal like bedtime. So just like charging our phones and everything and trying to figure that out. Like, okay, because car battery juice is not going to be enough. It's just like
Right.
it, and luckily she has like 2 ports in her car. So it was a thing, man. Like, but it was kind of this weird, like, I don't know if you guys have been through something that feels like this, where it sucks what you're going through, but it's also like a really weird adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, it's almost like a challenge to yourself, like, because you have to survive. You just gotta survive it. But, and like, Ashley was stressing out the rear end about, oh, the ice cream in the freezer is gonna melt, and like I'm gonna have such a mess in the morning. And I was like, babe, like literally, there's nothing we can do about what happened. Like that's it. Like we just have to deal and find out. I understand you don't want to buy replacements for certain things and cheese and everything, dairy, because it was like that until 5:30, like maybe 5:38. I looked at my phone whenever we were asleep and the fans and everything kicked back on. And I mean, like, I woke up, I see her eyes open, and like we're both like, yes, like in the bed or whatever. And just like, and then it goes off again. By the way, never told anybody that. It literally was on, and then it's like, okay. And then that was like a few minutes of silence. And then it came back on again, but when it came back on, it was literally the most bizarre on off, on off, on off. Like the lights and everything were flashing. Like there was a point where there was just a white flash because of how much they were doing that I think my lamp was like, I was just thinking like they're going to like blow one of our lights, like just because of that much. But, and I talked to Corey the next day about it. I'm like, props, man, to electricians.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a really good electric company here. Like it's the electricity, internet, and everything. Like they are a great company because I can't tell you how many times I have to call them about the internet, and they will stay on the phone with you. They have a 24-hour customer service line, and like just they worked from the moment the wreck happened. Like I saw their truck pull up to that wreck and get ready to like, okay, the cops and everybody, like the tow truck, whatever had to happen, move it all out of the way for them to come in. They're working on it immediately. They have like a Facebook page where they updated us like every couple hours or whatever. And at one point it said like several more hours from now this will be done. And that was at like 1 or 2 in the morning. So the fact that they got that done from like the point I got home to like 10, like 5:30 in the morning, I mean, that's a long time, but it could have been worse. We could have had the whole rest of the day without electricity, and it would have been a lot warmer in the apartment. So it definitely was an experience that I'll never forget, weirdly enough. And I kind of posted it on Facebook just to like, I had the side thought in my head, like, post this so you can remember it whenever it reminds you that it happened. Because it definitely was very interesting. And it was just kind of like a weird, quiet, like once you get used to your lights being off, you're just kind of like, I was just spending time with Ashley. Weirdly enough, like we didn't have any, like we didn't, like have any TV or anything, so it was just the cats and us. So it just, I don't know. It's a weird thing. It definitely makes you feel grateful for just like we take advantage of our lights and electricity like out the butt, dude. Like it's like it really is a thing. Like, and I sat there and kind of imagined it like what would it be like if this was permanent? Like how much we had to adjust if like this whole city was just like dark and like maybe the whole rest of the world was just dark all at once. Like it really puts you into perspective when you're going longer in that way. It'd be a totally different world. There would be no such thing as AC in the summer. There'd be no such thing as warming up, except for what you can do to rather cool yourself off or warm yourself up. Like that would be it.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
So I'll tell my story quickly and then we'll kind of get into recommendations. So this happened. I was younger. Yeah, I was still in high school. And I know this happened like during summer when we weren't in school, but my parents live kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's like there's a lot of houses on the road, but at the same time, it's not a very traveled road, if that makes any sense. There's like never any traffic. And like in all the years my parents have lived here, probably 13, 14, I think maybe even 15 years now, I've only ever seen cops drive down that road maybe 3 times, which is kind of crazy. So it's not a very traveled road. And we had really bad storms one time, and they literally knocked down these giant trees, like massive trees, on each end of the road that my parents live on, like of all places. The one tree wasn't blocking the route to the hospital, which was good. So it was like down past the hospital. My parents' house is a little ways down from the hospital. But then on the other end, there's like an intersection where you turn right onto my parents' road, and it was like a big tree fell. Massive tree. And it hit a power line, literally knocked all the power out for my entire road. The hospital was fine because they had backup generators. But we were without powers because the tree was so massive and did so much damage. It took 2 days for them to cut the tree, get all the debris cleared before trucks could even get in and start working on the power. 2 days that we couldn't do anything because we couldn't leave anywhere because the roads were blocked. And like, you couldn't do anything because you had no power. 2 days. And that was like...
that was probably the best coming on finally feeling ever. That was probably the best relieving vibe.
Yep. It sucked charging our phones in the car and stuff like that, and battery banks, and yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was definitely pretty crazy. That was probably the worst like power outage experience ever. But I've had issues like where where we lost it for a few hours. I'll never forget the one time. This is really funny. Power went out on my road again. I don't even remember what caused it. And it was out for a couple hours. So my car was pulled. This is before Tristan and I got together. So my car was in my parents' garage, which the only way to open their garage door is there's no like lever on the inside. You have to do it from a switch. And when there's no power, the switch doesn't work. So I remember my parents are gone. I'm home alone. It's like getting late. I call work and I'm like, hey, if our power doesn't come back on, I'm not going to be able to, like, I can't get my car out of the garage. Like, even the emergency thing, like, wasn't hooked up. Like, so I literally climbed in the rafters of my garage trying to pull the emergency thing to lift the door. Nothing. Would not work. I was so mad. I was freaking out. I was hungry, so I called my friend. My friend drove all the way from this other town and I was like, dude, if you pick me up and just hang out with me for a little bit, like, I'll buy you food. He's like, all right. Literally the second he pulls in my driveway to get me, the power kicks on. The second. And
I would have just told work, like, oh, yeah, my power's still off.
No, I went to work. I went to work. But yeah, that would crazy. But it really, it really makes you appreciate how much you have whenever you lose the power.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you
And
definitely
even
take
just
a lot
what
of
me
things
and
for
Dustin
granted.
do with the internet and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, I mean, we kind of have to have it to put out any of this for you. So it's kind of, it's a thing, and you don't really realize things until, because it's just, when things just become part of your everyday life, like, it's so easy to lose sight of, like, well, if I lost this, like, I don't know, it's a whole different world when your lights are off. Like, it just,
Yes.
like, and nowadays, yeah, I thank God for, like, we have these phones and stuff to play. It's so funny how, like, we talked about, oh, don't play on your phone so much, and it's just
Yeah.
like that happens, and then I kind of had to have anything to do. And me and Ashley are very, like, watch YouTube and stuff on the TV before bed, like, very, we like to have something to wind down, so we had, I charged my phone as much as possible in her car, like, at a point where, like, we came back up, and she was like, my phone's still on, like, 30, I'm just gonna, like, leave the car running for, like, a little bit and just look out the window and keep an eye on it and stuff, because this neighborhood's trustworthy, like, everybody's protective of their own stuff, and that's, it's a gated community anyway, so, but, yeah, it just, yeah, it was weird. And just real quick, like, the strangest thing is what I forgot to say earlier is when we left to get some McDonald's, like, literally, we go, and I was like, babe, what if this gas station down here on the end of the street is just not, that's crazy, because it's a 24-hour gas station, and I'm just imagining how it was for people that were getting gas at the time, and then everything just goes dark. Like, it literally was the last place of business on the street, because it is, like, there's the gas station, and then there's an intersection, so it was the end of the street. It was literally our entire, just this street, and the gas station on the end, that was all black, and then the next street over is all lit up. Like, it was so bizarre to see that, like, cops on the very end of the street, just, like, basically, well, the intersection was shut off too, so his flashlight he was using as the left green light signal. So I was like, that is crazy, because everything else, so when we came back, you just start to notice how much darker it's getting on the street. Like, literally, like, like I said, guys, we take advantage of even just, like, street lights. Like, you don't even think about them being there until it's completely dark. Like, it's so bizarre. I've never seen, like, a street be that dark before, like, ever. Insane. You got your recommendation, sir?
I do. I think it's going to kind of touch back on the whole mental health thing, and I'm sure it's a recommendation I've had before, is take care of yourself. If you are in a bad job, maybe in a bad place, you're not stuck. Don't feel like you're stuck. You can always leave. And you know what? Sometimes you might just have to fall, and take a couple steps back in order to take many steps forward again. So sometimes you might just need to take the fall and deal with it as it comes, but just know that, like, bigger and better things are ahead. That's going to be my recommendation.
In mine, what would I say? Because I don't want to just be like, oh, I second that, I'm trying to...
Like you do all the time?
Yeah, because, like, I kind of do it, but I always try to do it in my own words, but that was pretty much how I would have worded it. Just know that when you're in the darkness, your light's going to come back on eventually, all right? Let's just leave it at that. Like, this is all kind of a weird, like, metaphor for, like, all the stories today were all unrelated, but they still kind of touch on, okay, you're going to go through some dark days. And, it's so hard to hold on to that hope. And I get it. But there's always, kind of like what Dustin said, but there's always a way out. And I don't know, just people don't search for that enough. I know that I definitely didn't whenever I was at my old job, and you just go every day and you're just like a zombie. Like, I literally, when I realized, like, I am going in here and I am tired AF all the time, and I am just zombie mode. Like, I had to make a change. So just know that a change has to be made eventually. Like, you're going to drive yourself into the grave, basically, if you just keep making the same choices, where sometimes we just need a change. Like, you might have even gotten the job that you got in recently. You might already need a change. I mean, it just, there's always these different paths, and don't feel stuck on the same one. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't know. It was basically what Dustin said, but I don't care. Guys, you can find us on all the listening platforms, YouTube, all that. Thank you guys so much for listening, by the way. It's been great. The channel and stuff and the just podcast in general is doing really, really well, and it's all thanks to you guys. So we greatly appreciate that. Dustin, is there anything you want to say as our final words?
One more thing, kind of quickly to put on my recommendation. If you are like me and I was more worried about what other people were going to think, listen, it's your life, and at the end of the day, it's your happiness, and that's what matters. You know, if people love and care for you and support you the way they say they do or claim to do, no matter what you're going through, no matter the highs, the lows, if they love you and support you, they will be there for you. So, yeah, it may be hard news to break, but at the end of the day, your happiness is what matters.
Agreed. Guys, contact us on Twitter. Tweet at us at any point. Don't be afraid to talk to us. We're just two normal guys with beards. And you guys will be talking to us next time.
I love that. We're just two normal guys with beards. Such an important detail. Like the beards. Like we're not just two normal guys that you can talk to anytime. Like, just remember we have beards.
Exactly.
That was awesome. All right, yeah. So email us at bbroshow@gmail.com. I think Trav already said that. Check out our merch store. Link in the description, as well as some other good stuff down there. So get on there, check it out. Continue the support. We love you guys.
Dustin has no idea that I've almost hit end this recording so many times, and I'm like, wait, is he still go? Okay, we're still
yep.
all right.
Okay, we're done now. We're done now. Okay.
We love you. Bye.
See ya.